Welcome to Dip a Toe.
The Dip a Toe. We're talking about everything show.
What's up, Simon? How you doing?
Yo, hey, when it rains, it pours. But right now it's
Mhm.
snowing, so I'm good with that. I'm good with the snow. It's like I could definitely use a snow day for sure.
You need a snow
But
day?
man, it's just like, those moments like in life, and we all have them. Like in that moment, we're like, you know what? My life, it's actually pretty good. I
Yeah.
really shouldn't be complaining about anything. And it's facts. But as soon as you let that cat out of the bag, real life is like, did you look in that corner over there? You're like, oh, that's crap, dude.
I forgot about that over there. I don't want to
Yeah,
deal with that.
I'm like, okay. Can I finish my pizza?
Please let me finish my pizza.
Let me finish the pizza. But you know what? I'm actually doing good. I feel very blessed. I'm loving everything that I'm seeing out there um, in the crypto space here within our country. It's been real fascinating to me
Yeah.
to not just see, the legislative side and people express their opinions on social media, but
Yep.
they've grown from at least within the crypto space. I'm only going to
Mhm.
leave it right there.
Yep.
Within that space, we're really coming from the perspective of, oh, this is interesting. I can see how this works, and now we're asking more questions in our communities in
Yep.
this space on that legislation. It's like, hell yeah! Again, cryptocurrency, digital assets are the gateway drug, are the bridges, not gateway drug, sorry, are the gateway to communities coming together. And we are walking, living, breathing proof on blockchains that we can come together and solve real world problems. And it's it's awesome to see, man. You're like, this is cool.
The
I'm
further we
glad I'm
get
on
down
this
the
bus.
road, the further we get down the road, the more excited I am.
Right.
And I'm impressed with the quality of folks that are involved in this digital asset space. Um, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and this is one little corner of of innovation and change that's happening. Um, you know, I don't have that background for nothing. you know, it's like it's happening. I want to welcome. We have 31 people in here so far, guys. Thank you so much for coming to the Dip a Toe Show.
31 coming for the fun,
Like,
baby. I
share, and
love it.
subscribe to our channel at Dip a Toe on both YouTube and Rumble, and at Dip a Toe Show on X. We're streaming live on all three platforms. Daddy Mark and Zach and Zay was the first man in here. Said, good day, everyone. Have a blessed day ahead. Thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank you, Daddy
you.
Mark.
We got Becky Forbes. We have Rosemary, our good friend
Always a pleasure,
Crawfish
Rosemary.
is in
Crawfish,
here.
what's good?
Optimistic Prime.
The prime of primes, baby.
Let's see. Who else we got? The new mindset is in
Your
here.
mindset, always fabulous. For
Susan
you to
Ramos.
know.
For
For
you
you
to
to know,
know. Yeah,
for you to
man.
know, it's in the house. Guess who's
Kita,
back?
Miss Kita, she's
Oh,
excited
Kita.
for this conversation. We love Quincy so much. Gotta be. We love you. Niles in the house too. You
Niles,
guys, showing
baby.
us some love. We love you guys so much.
We got T in the house too. We got Tristos up in the house. Tristan.
Yes. Thank
What's
you.
good, brother?
And Kristen, you might be coming on to answer your questions, girlfriend. So, without further ado, I'm gonna make this introduction. There's a lot of people super excited. I posted this on the XDC community board on X, and the community over there went nuts. They're super excited for this interview. Tonight, for those of you that don't know, we have Mr. Quincy Jones joining us to answer some questions and have a nice conversation. Quincy Jones is a pivotal figure in the blockchain and software development community, currently serving as the senior software engineer at the XDC Foundation. Quincy's made significant contributions to the XDC Network, which is known for its focus on real-world asset tokenization and enterprise solutions. He's recognized for his work in developing decentralized applications and smart contracts, particularly those that facilitate the integration of traditional financial instruments into the blockchain ecosystem. Quincy's been active in sharing insights through various platforms, including interviews, articles, and presentations. He's discussed topics like the future of blockchain technology and the tokenization of assets. And he does whiteboards on how cryptocurrencies like XRP and XDC could revolutionize finance. His work extends to educational content where he explains complex blockchain concepts in an accessible manner. He's also known for his contributions to the GitHub community under the handle Coin Club Quincy, where he shares code-related information to the XDC blockchain development. Quincy's expertise and forward-thinking approach make him a vital asset to the XDC Foundation, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in blockchain technology for both developers and businesses looking to leverage decentralized solutions. And we've had Quincy on this show before. He's always the favorite.
Guess who's back?
He is
back again.
Mentioned your intro. I said you didn't know that Simon was a singer too. If you guys haven't seen the intro, the little thing that was fantastic.
Dude, I contemplated. I was like, can I find the instrument? I'm like, oh, I totally could. I'm like, okay. I started writing some things down of how I could do it, and then I was like, oh, dude, we could totally get a slap from YouTube for this. I'm like, that can't work. I'll just do it on the mic, like no one's there, like one of the intros or this at the end of that Eminem CD.
Yeah.
All right, at the beginning. Guess who's back? Back again.
Back. Yeah. So we're excited to have Quincy.
Always a
pleasure. He's always a wealth of information. He's super fun. Great personality. He's not going to be on camera tonight, folks. Unfortunately, we have him on audio though. So without further ado, let's get Quincy Jones in here. Hello, Mr. Quincy Jones.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Mr. Quincy, my brother, man, how the heck are you? Really? Let me hear that XDC enthusiasm.
I'm doing pretty well, actually. How about you guys?
Good, man. Good.
I'm excited for the future, Quincy. With people like you working on it, I'm excited. I'm impressed and excited, and I can't wait to hear all about it. For those of people that don't know you, I mean, there's a lot of people that watch this show. We've had you on a couple of times, but give a little bit of your background and your current role that you're serving in. What kinds of things are you working on there over at XDC Foundation?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we focus on in the foundation is being able to expand the XDC community and sort of expand, I guess you could say, like the tools that the XDC developer community get to engage in. This could be building out different smart contract standards. This could be building out different applications like explorers, or just sort of different tools that people could use, or just building out different libraries like SDKs for different developers. And then I spend a good part of my time sort of explaining what all these different tools do, how people can use them, what people are doing with them, because people usually utilize these different tools to build businesses or build new startups, and then sort of give like a general overview of like why people would build or utilize this particular technology. It's one thing to talk about a smart contract. It's another thing to talk about how people are building on it and why people would choose to use XDC to build. So it's sort of like this communication component while simultaneously building out tools for people to use so they can continuously build new applications on XDC.
Yeah. Are you mostly working with big companies or little companies or what?
I would say there's sort of like a split. So on one end, there's like the classic startup, like one or two, maybe there are a few scrubby developers. And they kind of just come up with like a Web3 native application. This could be a lending application, DEX, whatever it may be, right? And that's like a pretty classic type of like company, I guess you could say, that we engage with. But the crypto space is full of them. Now the other sort of on the opposite side, type of company that we end up dealing with are sort of like institutions that are interested in getting into blockchain technology, but aren't necessarily sure how they could adopt that technology to fit their current like tech stack. So they may be in finance, or they may be in supply chain, or they may be in whatever, and they can see that they could utilize blockchain technology, but they're not really sure what they could do to utilize that within their current business. So usually we get a chance, and usually that's when they get a chance to chat with me. We get a chance to meet with them. We go over their current business flow. We go over what they're trying to do, what type of problems they're facing, how we can essentially like sort of go about solving those problems using the technology, and then sort of like paint a, I don't want to say necessarily a roadmap, but it's almost like sort of like paint out the flow of what would have been done in their traditional environment into a Web3 environment, usually as a collection of smart contracts or however we set up the application, and sort of go into this like conversion, or what I like to call a tech transfer of a already established solution now operating on blockchain with blockchain technology. And that's sort of like the classic like enterprise sort of engagement is taking an already established business solution and seeing how blockchain technology can utilize or be utilized to sort of like get these different like benefits. Usually the main benefit is expedited settlements and some level of
Yep.
automation on top of that.
Right.
So those are usually the big ones. But yeah, usually we get these like startups, hackathons, small guys that come in, you know, classic Web3 type deal. But then we get a lot of these tech transfers where a lot of new interesting or a lot of new um interesting like businesses that aren't traditionally sort of startup or techie are sort of moving in a direction where they're, and main reason they come to us too. So this is actually the main reason they come to us. When it comes to like finding developers or finding people in the Web3 space to even start building anything, it's relatively difficult because there's just like a shortage.
Yep.
Any decent developers working on a major project right now, like it's not like you can just go on Fiverr right now and find like 10 good, you know, blockchain devs. And if you do find one, like they probably have a dozen other offers, like just in terms of like how big the space is right now. And I only
Right.
say that because this is actually a weird contrast. So a lot of these like traditional businesses, they want to go through like this traditional route, but then you have like crypto. So it's like, hey, do I take this like traditional? Do you get hired and move with these traditional organizations to
Right.
start migrating into Web3 and Solidity or Solidity programming, or do you just launch a meme coin or launch any other crypto thing and make 10x as much money? So there is a little bit of like, I don't want to say like a shortage of developers, but it's hard to find the space isn't saturated enough for traditional businesses to be able to pick a developer off the shelf. So they come to us because obviously we essentially have the background in terms of how we're able to scope out a lot of these solutions. And then we essentially go out and do that for them. And then typically we work with their development team. We don't really like to get our hands too dirty, primarily because it's like a responsibility thing. So it's like
Right. Right.
I don't want to be liable, but like we'll architect it all out. But you're technically gonna have to be like we'll put the plans like an architect would, but you got to build it because we don't want to be liable for you know how that goes or whatever. But
This is kind of
Right.
a this is kind of a like a it's an interesting thing that you're talking about here, and it's kind of outside of the realm of just talking about XDC. But what popped in my mind as you're talking is I'm thinking about all of the young folks out there and old folks like myself, um, learning a skill, learning how to build something, or understanding, like those of us that have been in this space for quite some time. We do have some capacity to understand, to almost act as a liaison or a connector to different types of platforms like the XDC Foundation, where you have all of the builders and people that can bring this into fruition. How would you recommend, what would you recommend folks do to kind of dip their toe? Because we do need more developers. What would you say to encourage folks to get involved in this space?
okay, yeah. So I get asked this a lot, and it's like it's sort of a weird trick question for me, because the answer is like how should I put it? The answer is not like a blockchain question. It's you can do any sort of software development and utilize blockchain in that development. So a lot of people when they think of blockchain development, they think of like, oh, Solidity developer, oh, like whatever, right? And that's a
Right.
really easy thing to sort of like gravitate to. But it doesn't necessarily just have to be like at some point there's probably engagement with a smart contract, Solidity, a token, or whatever. But this could be iOS, this could be Android, this could be desktop, this could be
Right.
VR. The
Right.
bigger component in terms of blockchain is that layer, that settlement layer, in terms of being able to settle assets, and in terms of being able to maybe even have like some sort of persistent accounting. Like if you're doing a video game, you might be able to keep account of all of your inventory in some sort of wallet address as a set of tokens in some capacity. But in reality, you just built a game. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
when people think of like how do you get into blockchain development, it's more of how do you get into software development and what's the relevancy of blockchain in software. And in that, I'd like to say, look, when it comes to software development, find something that you find is interesting and see if you can find a set of tools to help you start building that in any capacity. And I think it's hilarious too, because like with LLMs, I think it's like never been easier to sort of like start getting your hands wet with like different development tools. But that's the thing. The biggest thing is focus on a problem, try to find a set of tools, typically a set of software tools to um, find a solution to that problem, and then see if you can like utilize blockchain if there's a relevance to be able to like find a better way to evaluate that problem. And that's sort of, and I only say that because like there's no such thing as just a blockchain developer. Everything is just sort of like software development. It's just
Yep.
that like it's just relevancy. The difference between
Yeah.
a blockchain developer and any other developer is that like at some point it just happens to have something on the blockchain. But at the end of the day, there are plenty of other people that did plenty of other development that had nothing to do with the blockchain, but at the same time, wouldn't have been able to do it without the background or relevancy of understanding Web3. And I say that because as part of like my day job, you'll laugh. You guys will laugh so hard. I probably spend at the very least like 10, maybe 20 minutes for every new client that we meet explaining what a wallet is. Like, I kid you not. Just
Yeah.
explaining what
Okay.
a wallet is, the significance of it, what is it for, how we can use it as authentication, how you can use it as signing, how you recognize that. It's a very simple thing, right? But at the same time, like if there's a context to understanding what that is, if you don't know what it is, you're just like, I don't know, like
Quincy, I volunteer those of us within the Dipito community here. I volunteer us as tribute. We're all freelancers. If in order for them to come on to the XDC network, I can do a 30-minute wallet tutorial for them. It's $39.95.
see, that's the funniest. That's actually the funniest thing because here's a weird thing about crypto in a weird sense, and I don't know if there's another industry even like this because I've never seen this before, where the barrier to entry is relatively low, but
Yeah.
the barrier to understanding is like insanely high.
Yes.
I say that because there's a lot of things in tech that are sort of like that, where the barrier of entry is low, but the barrier of understanding is high. Like programming is like that. You can download any number of programming languages, read the instruction manual from the programming language, like the man command, and
Right.
be able to go into any program. People aren't going to typically do that, but you could do that. But it's just the biggest thing is being able to aggregate and understand information. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
Tiara says explanations only go so far. The experience with it is where the knowledge is acquired.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And I also want to say, Optimistic says, I appreciate you talking about the lack of developers. We're finding those learning in real time and creating a community of them. And Stone says, bring him to coffee and crypto and he'll tell him what a wallet is.
But
sorry, Simon.
But no, it's great. It's spot on. All that right there, all the dipitors you just brought up, bringing solid information and to piggyback on what Quincy's talking about here, and all of us experienced cryptopians that are watching this show right now can relate. explaining crypto to friends, families, coworkers, right? And one of the biggest challenges that I find myself is getting the individual that is hungry for the information to visualize the flow of a thing, of how the thing may work, and so I'll try to use like real world situations, or what do they call? Oh, everybody says it's I can't remember what it's called now. Blank farting, but I'll just use real world situations that they're familiar with. Like, okay, everybody knows about a car, mostly. Most people would agree. Oh, I know cars are made in factories. Okay, I know cars are made with robotics at some level, right? There's no human involvement at some point. So you can take these little things to just kind of plant seeds for a functionality part, or, well, a wallet is a wallet. How do you mean? Well, you have a wallet right there, right? And you have another wallet at home. No, I don't. It's called your drawer where you stick your pocket change. You remember that? Yeah. Well, that's a wallet too. You just don't call it a wallet. You call it a junk drawer, but nonetheless, it's storing your change, which is your money, just like here, here, and here. They're all different wallets, but you don't call it a wallet. I mean, it's that. And then they go, oh, I can, man, that's got to be a challenge every now and again to go, okay, do you know what a wallet is? No. Okay, everybody.
It's
one second. I got to go consult. I got to go just talk to my team here. Just a second. Y'all huddle up, and you guys are doing this.
But see, that's where
it's so much. It's so much worse though. It's so much worse.
That's where we need me.
It's so much worse though. So here's what the worst thing about it is. So there's explaining certain things in crypto, but then there's like correlating it to the relevance in what they're doing. So like actually a wallet's a perfect example because a wallet depending on who we're dealing with means a different thing to different people. To a finance app, your wallet is basically like your main accounting for all of your assets. For it's
a window.
I don't want to give away too much information, but let's say for an application managing like documents or something, your wallet is just like an authentication tool. You just need to sign it that's it. Like, you see what I mean? So you're not even focusing on assets. You're not even focusing on that, but it's still a wallet. And and I say that because sometimes how they go about the wallet could be trying to pair a set of employee emails like SSO to a collection of wallets, right? Now, like I said, a finance company may allow them to custody assets. A documents company may allow them to sign documents or reference different documents as tokens and then reference those tokens. Like, so like there's different, and it's so weird too, because at the end of the day, I'm like explaining like what a wallet is, but like I'm explaining it differently each time. Like, in this regard, we're managing your accounting for your finances. And it depends on where the wallet is too. Are we hosting the asset on the main net? Or are we hosting on a subnet? Because we're hosting on the subnet, it's not even a wallet to them anymore. You might as well just call it an account because we're not talking about money anymore. We're talking about a bunch of random numbers in an accounting system somewhere versus like stable coins or versus whatever. And I only say that because this is what annoys me is this is all the same thing. They're all the same thing. It's just how you go about using it is the same thing. But people get very confused very easily. Like, I thought it was a wallet. I didn't know you can use it to like sign on and authenticate. Like, I know the term wallet doesn't seem like you can do that, but like,
yeah.
Well, that's what Gotta Be says. It's a misnomer. It doesn't hold crypto. Like a wallet is kind of like your window into the blockchain. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's your avenue to get in there.
Yeah.
100%. It's like you said, your window. It's how you use transact. I approve. That's it. Show's over. Okay, bye. That's it.
I want to welcome. We have 144 people watching now because they're excited
good.
to see you, Quincy Jones.
Cool.
Please like and share and subscribe and let's get more people in here. We got Crypto Queen in here, Atlantic Living, Crypto Glamma stopped by, Build X is here. I am seeing I don't know if I'm gonna say that right. Soyokays, we missed you, Quincy. So there's several questions in the chat already for you, Quincy. I don't know if you can see the questions.
And I have a laundry list. I have a laundry list.
And Simon has a laundry list. And so
what are some of the questions?
Well, so the first one that I see that popped up is from Crypto Queen Show. Quincy, are you able to touch on the XDC SBI XRP partnership? Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know much about that.
Lips. Okay, that's strike one.
You know what though? You gotta try. I mean, he's here.
Try.
You know, you gotta try. Like who wouldn't, right? I would have totally tried.
All right.
Yeah, why not?
Atlantic Living says, Quincy, how important is XDC to ISO 2022 messaging standard? What still needs to be complete for the upcoming March 10th date coming up?
Oh my god. Okay, there's like so many layers of just like hilarity to this. Okay, so first layer of hilarity. The date of when ISO is relevant almost reminds me of like the Fed and interest rates. It's like they'll talk about it and then they'll talk about talking about it and then they'll adjust the date of when they're gonna do something, and then they may like go, oh, maybe we'll do something. I don't know, maybe we'll do something, and that's basically been ISO since 2004. Yeah. Like I kid you not. That's literally it literally goes all the way back. Now I say that because part of that is because there's a human component. It's part of that is just getting people together and utilizing just a messaging standard for finance. Like this precedes crypto. But it's one of those things where the whole premise of ISO is getting multiple people on the same page. So when you see these dates because I remember when I first got into crypto back in 2017, I remember seeing this exact same thing. This is like 8 years later. It's the same thing. It's like, oh my God, in this date, they're going to do this thing. Oh my God. And what that means is, okay, so there are a bunch of different organizations all around the world opting into different ISO standards. And they're not all going at once. So whenever there's an announcement, that means somebody out there in some capacity is taking it more seriously than they did before. And there's a cutoff date to take it seriously. That doesn't mean everyone's taking it seriously. It just means that there are more organizations taking it seriously to where people are talking about it. And now I say that because even then, it could come to the date. I don't know if it's March or something, and then they go, I don't know. We need more time to take it seriously, so we'll give it some time, and then push the date back a year or two or something. And it doesn't really mean anything. It's just what's the time frame to get all these different people on board with this general standard, the general notion of doing things.
I mean, it's kind of like the I-9 verification forms, like back in, gosh, it's been 2000 something, like 20 years ago, when George Bush was in office, and we were taught at work, like, this is going to be the standard. Everyone's going to have to go through this portal and real-time verifications of I-9s and all of these things. And so we all geared up for it, and it's going to be mandatory. And then it got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And, you're just like, okay, is it ever going to happen? And now, since I've been in crypto, I realize that they've kind of been waiting for all of this to come into fruition before they did that. And so, yeah, that's frustrating. What's the second crazy part of this question? And we don't mean crazy and laughing at you, Atlantic Living. It is just ironic that they do give us these dates, and it's laughing with you. I'm sure Atlantic knows.
It's not the individual commenter. It's just there's an ethos in crypto that brings a level of like it. So I hate to say it this way, but it's the nicest way to say it. Due to ignorance, people will overemphasize things that aren't that important. It's almost like
I've done it before myself.
Yeah, like and what it is and I say that because now here's the thing that's very irritating. The things that are super important are like virtually invisible, but not because they're invisible. It's because if you were looking at it right there in your face, right there, clear as day, it'd be written in Chinese, translated from multiple alien languages that you can never. It's because it's so technical. So like, even if it was obvious in your face, it's still it as a point. It's still at a point to where it's like it's technical. So the things that people try to emphasize, actually, it's funny that you say that because the things that people emphasize as super important are important, but like the things that are like insanely that are like the backbone of crypto, that like crypto wouldn't survive without these things, no one even knows exist. Like, I'm experiencing that now, actually. Like, it's kind of hilarious. Like,
yep.
I expect the one thing I would say is that kudos to people that are focusing on, even if they're not as like pivotal or important, the fact that folks are giving attention to something like ISO 2022. Most people don't even understand any kind of standards at all. And so for them to start just even dipping their toe into a little bit of this kind of stuff, kind of going outside of their comfort zone. But it is good to take a step back and caution yourself to not get overly excited. But when we learn something new, we want to shout it from the rooftops, and we want to engage in conversation that we might not have engaged in before. And so that's where folks like yourself come in to kind of bring us dip-a-toers back down to earth.
yeah. And I only say this because ISO is not really that big a deal, like through and through. It is in some contexts, but in the crypto context, not really. I only said there's a lot of ISO standards, a lot, and they're all important in some regard, but like not in crypto. There are way more things that are way okay, like people talk about ISO, right? What about the MiCA standards and the MiCA regulations? That is
Mr.
infinitely
Man.
more impactful in crypto than
Mr.
ISO
Man.
is, like hands
Mr.
down.
Man
Like,
does. Yeah.
yeah, so like it's just stuff like that where it's like if you're asking about that or people are focusing on that, I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, seriously, it's changing on a minute by minute basis. There's a lot going on, like,
Yep. Yeah.
but yeah, with ISO, like I'm like, yeah, this has just been like a slow roll thing around getting people to format their data around finance and utilize this format. And it's not like that. It's a big deal in some regards. It does relieve some friction, but all standards relieve some friction because that's how standards work. You know, like once everyone's on the same page, it's easier to engage. But that's it. That's it. There you go. Like to that extent, that's it. Like
It's it's interesting because like the ISOs at I would say global level versus the MiCA is just like a section of the globe. But within that section of the globe, right? Because we're talking that's European Union, basically, right? Is the MiCA?
Mhm.
Is that correct? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But within that, you have a melting pot of different jurisdictions within there. I mean, it in itself is its own world, and they're doing their own thing, have their own standards, and that's a back and forth. Yes, we do. No, we can't. Yes, we do. No, we can't. No, we can't. No, yes, no, maybe so. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Minute by minute, go, right? It's whoever, hey, Phil couldn't be here, so can you lead our meeting today? Well, Phil has a totally different idea than maybe Mary or Gustavo or whoever. You know what I'm saying? So I can see that where the ISO is about same 10, 20 people that are the shot callers that get together and go, well, okay, we were slacking off. We're not ready yet. So can we move the goalpost down just a little further? Thanks. So I can see that. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. I'd like to go down the tokenization road. Can we go? Or do you have more, Melissa?
Well, I guess we can do this question because it goes into your tokenization. Trissos have a go. Hey, Quincy, I know you're an XDC man. Question: do you see real world tokenized assets being used on Lobster For example, stocks, bonds, NFTs, and would tokenized assets become an NFT? Thank you, dude.
I don't know much about Lobster, but I guess I'll say this real quick about NFTs real quick. So, NFTs, just so people get this, because I see people say this all the time. Um, it's NFTs. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it like in the internet way. NFTs are not a thing. NFTs are a type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Hmm.
So what I mean by that is when people go, is this gonna be an NFT? Is it gonna be an NFT? Is it gonna be most tokens? Like right now, there are really just two different types of tokens: fungible and non-fungible. This is a type of token, right?
Right.
Now I say this because, or a type of unit of account. I say
Right.
this because, when people go, is it going to be an NFT? That's almost like asking, like, oh, Quincy, I heard you're creating a game. Is it going to be a file I can download? It's like, well, yeah, like, but only in the fact that most things are a file that you can download. Like it's a type of thing, not necessarily like an inherent, like, unique thing on its own right. Now I
Right.
say that because when you talk about an NFT, think of it this way, and people have like, I don't know why this is still like not an explained thing. It's just a unit of account on a shared accounting system. That's it.
Mhm.
That's what an NFT is. And you may go, what does that mean? It means if I have a unit of account that resides within this application, aka the smart contract, I can take that unit of account and take it out of that application and move it into another application, right?
Yep.
And this
Mhm.
token that I'm able to move is only, well, really, this token is just like not divisible. So, like that's really it. So, like a regular token, if you want, or a fungible token, is a I guess you could say a number with a floating point with like a decimal point, while
Right.
a
It's
NFT is just
fractionalized.
an individual number. Yeah. There you can't break it into two. So when
Right.
it's
Can
a
bring
unit
it
of
too.
account, yeah, and I say this because people get this hung up with the currencies too. Like those fungible tokens could be points, they could be rewards, they
It could be
could
anything.
be literally anything, a unit of account, just a unit of account with a decimal point. Like that's it. That's all you like. Think of a fungible token as an individual number. Well, an NFT as a token with a or my bad, the other way around. NFT is an individual number, and a fungible token is
Yeah.
is a number with a decimal point.
Right.
So,
Now I only say this
would
because
you use NFTs to tokenize something? So say you had a song and could you use an
Maybe.
NFT to tokenize the song to where you could sell
okay,
it as an NFT?
so no, this is what I'm trying to describe.
Yeah.
Anything that you would do in any regard would be an NFT. In any, like, that's what I'm trying to say. Anything, because it's a type of
Anything.
thing. Just in the same way that anything you do on your computer would be a file, because a file is a type
Yep.
of thing. It could be a video file, it could be code. An
But a
NFT is
file's a
a
file.
type of thing. The
Right.
only
Type of file.
difference, yeah. So when you talk about like making a music and an NFT, technically what you're doing is you're making the music right. So people don't say this completely. It's the right. That's what a lot of these things that are tokenized, you're tokenizing. You're tokenizing the right to something. And the benefit
Right.
of doing that is to basically be able to, one, take account of who owns it, but two, be
Proof
able
of
to
ownership.
fractionalize and automate. But yeah, you can
Right.
tokenize the right, not
Right.
necessarily the document. This
Right.
is important when it comes to contracts. When you tokenize a contract, you don't actually have to have the data for the contract in the tokenized contract. It can just be a hash of the contract to prove that it is the contract that you're talking about, and it can just have a signature on top of that. You don't have to have the data inside there to show it. So you're only showing the right to something, not the actual thing. You see what I mean?
Right. Yep. Yep. I clearly do on that level, very much so. To reiterate for all you that might be like, what the heck is what was just said right there? Let's go back to a file. A file is a type of thing. Okay, so we have Word doc, PDF, JPEG, a PNG, all those things that a text file,
Exactly. And the
VT,
only
like
difference,
it's just
I love
yeah,
that you're bringing that up, Simon. The only difference to what you're saying and to what like NFTs, we don't have words to describe NFTs further than that. So with a file, imagine if everyone said everything was a file. So, oh, you have a text doc, it's a file. Code doc, it's a
yeah,
file. You have a
file,
video file, it's a yeah. But
file,
imagine they didn't say the extension, or they just said file, 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 file,
right,
file. So I'm gonna make a
right.
game. I'm gonna make a file game. I'm gonna make a code file. Like it would be so hard to describe what you're
Right,
doing. So, but that's the problem with NFTs right now. People don't have additional things to describe on top of that. So a file is a
right,
type of thing. It's a type of thing
right.
in your computer that organizes data in a particular way for you to be able to run within a program or something. An NFT is a type of thing in terms of it just being a unit of account that can be shared
But
between multiple
I
applications.
mean, well, it's a NFT is a type of just token. So there's two tokens: fungible,
Yeah,
non-fungible.
type of token. It's
I
just
mean, but and then that's it, right? So what's fungible means I can break it down. Fungible slash fractionalized, meaning I can divide in two, I can divide in four, I can 8 decimals, and there I go. And you have like a shard, or for all of us people that would download music before it became illegal, we would just file sharing, and we take little bits. Well, that little bits would be, you know, fungible token per se. We're putting it back together in a roundabout way, right? Where non-fungible is like a whole number, if you will. I remember a math class, basic math. You had whole numbers, you had fractions. Well, the whole number is an NFT, can't be broken up theoretically, just for understanding. The fungible token, it can be broken up.
so
And I'm
yeah.
glad
So when you're
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go
So
ahead,
yeah,
go ahead, bro.
when you're referencing like something that's like a unit of account, let's say you're trying to reference like a key, right? Well, I can't split a key into two. There's no amount of
Right,
anything that could. A key is a singular thing. It's a singular
right,
object. It can't be
right.
interchanged with another key. It's a key.
That's the key. Yeah.
And that's just one
Right.
example.
Yeah.
So it should be a ticket. This could be a whatever, whatever, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But it's only one of it. And that's thing, like it's really silly because it really is just like it's how you represent sort of a number in a database. That's really
Right.
what it is. Like,
Right.
but that's why I say that. So when people say, "Is this going to be an NFT?" That's like saying, "It's oh, I'm making a game. Is it going to have a file?" And it's like, well, yes, but by virtue of the fact that, like,
Oh,
yeah, that's, you
Quincy,
know what I
I
mean?
feel
Like,
I God bless you, man, because as a developer, and I know developers out there all across the globe, probably hit this wall. It's like, you think it's something that it's really not, but it kind of is. But yes, it's gonna have a file. It is a file in nature. It is the thing that you say it is, but you don't understand it like it really is.
so we need to have a conversation about digital rights. People don't get it because we don't have a conversation around digital rights. If you had a conversation around digital rights and you prefaced it with that, everything makes sense perfectly. The whole decentralization, the whole the like shared databasing. Because with digital rights, the problem is okay. Let's say I'm the arbiter of storing everyone's digital rights.
Okay,
Let's say there was to be
you're the
something that
state.
were to happen. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's say there
you're the
was something
state.
that were to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say there was a transaction that didn't go through me. How would I be able, or how would everyone be able to keep track of all these other transactions that aren't happening through that one entity? Now, if you have it on a decentralized network, you don't have to focus on what entity is essentially putting out that information. Anybody can put out that information, and we all can reference that right. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Versus like I said, I only say that because it's so weird. Like if you had a conversation about blockchains being a database for digital rights and being able to move capital, everything would change. But because we have this like idea about money and this idea about like, oh, it's so weird. Like I think the calling like wallets is a mistake. I think a bunch of
Yeah.
things that we call in crypto is a mistake, not because
Yep.
it's bad, but because it misleads what it is. Like
Right.
actually, it's almost like this is the best way I can describe it. You may go, Quincy, what do you mean by that? it's a mistake in the same way that calling your cell phone a phone is a mistake. Because a phone or your phone is just an app on your phone. Your smartphone is really just a microcomputer, a very powerful microcomputer. But calling it a phone is misleading. It makes you go, oh, well, you just call people with it. I mean, the phone is the one app you probably use the least on it, but we call it a phone. But that's the thing though, like no, don't get me wrong, everybody is very like everyone's very like familiar with knowing that, hey, I know I call it a phone, but it's way more than that. But imagine going, I always make jokes with my dad. I'm like, what if someone went back to the 70s and like held up this little device and said it was a phone? And it's like, this is a touchscreen computer, micro computer in your pocket, access the internet.
You know what?
You call it a phone.
You know what they would do? They go, that's not a phone. And then they would point to their wall and go, that's
exactly.
High,
that's what.
And I'm calling the cops.
Guys, I was just watching a crime show the other night, and the kid made somebody called in a tip on a public phone, like out of a phone booth. And we started laughing as we were like, there's like half the people that are in crypto, they've never seen a phone booth in their life, except for at a museum. And I'm like, man, I remember carrying 20
That's like a crypto
to be able to call my mom, It's so funny how far we've come. And I'm not that old, but I mean, I'm older than most everybody in here. But geez, oh Pete, have we come a long way.
Right. Quincy, I like that you brought up the rights. Okay, that's really important, because in my early exploration of NFTs was really with artists. Okay, and came across a local artist here, local to me, and he explained it just how you did, where it's like, no, I create the physical thing, I sell it to you, but then I also put proof of ownership, NFT, on the blockchain. There's only one. There it is.
This is another thing too. This is another thing too. So this is what I have to really emphasize on this, because people get so pedantic with this. Okay. I almost forgot what I was going to say. This is intellectual property rights. So when people go, oh, it's an NFT, I just took a picture of it. Okay, fine. Let's just play that stupid game, right? All right. So let's say I was a photographer and I took a picture of this beautiful scenery, and then this beautiful scenery could be used as a picture in National Geographic. But obviously, I'm not going to just sit there and just give them a picture for free. I'm going to sell them the rights to it. The way people look at NFTs, that's like me writing a contract, sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to sell the rights to this picture. And then people going, why would you sign the contract? Why don't you just take a screenshot of that picture? And no, because intellectual property means that you will sue my ass because you own that's the thing that people don't get about it. It's not about you owning the literal picture. It's about you owning the rights to it.
The rights
to it. Yeah. And now when people go, well, what about these pudgy penguins and they're all silly and stupid? Yeah, sure, they're silly and stupid. But when someone screenshots something, and this is why people don't take the pudgy penguins or the crypto kitties seriously, is because no one sees the value or the intellectual value in a pudgy penguin picture, but they do in an art piece. They do in a photograph that could be in a magazine. They do in these other things, but these other things, like it's the same thing. It's the notion of, hey, someone owns the right to this image. Someone owns the right to this intellectual property. It goes the same with patents. It goes the exact same with patents. So it's not about the actual thing. It's the thing. Imagine someone saying, oh, this is stupid. You have a patent and you say it's unique, but I just sat there and took a picture of your patent. Therefore, it's not about the literal piece of paper, man. It's about the intellectual property rights.
What about this, Quincy? And what pops in my head is that this is a very simple cease and desist directly to the person using your stuff. You have ownership of it. You can prove it. You don't need to get a lawyer involved at that point, because once somebody sees that you're serious and knows, like, hey, this person is going to come after me, a lot of those issues might go away really quickly.
You brought up something brilliant.
Thank you.
I don't think you even know how brilliant you brought up. Yeah, so you brought up something brilliant. You said you don't even need to get a lawyer involved.
Don't even
And you
need
know
it.
why that's you know why it's really brilliant? Because this is the power of decentralization. So here's the problem. So let's call it the information custody problem, right? People have a huge problem with medical records in this, where they go to one doctor for one thing, and then they go to another hospital for another thing, but then they have to prove that they did it one thing over here to another thing, and they have to communicate. Well, the thing that's beautiful about the blockchain is if I can prove that I own this particular document in a wallet, I don't need to go to a third party to go find that I proved that I own the thing or have the thing.
Yeah.
This is really good. And this is why and this is another thing that people have a hard time wrapping their heads around, because it's not about the actual information. So let's say it was like your social security or something. This is not about your social security. It's not like your social security is stored on the blockchain. It's just proving that you have a proof that this thing is the thing. This is where we get into like knowledge proofs and stuff. So normally you might have a hash of something, and that hash may be a hash of the actual data, but it's a proof of what may actually be the thing that you're referencing. So you may reference some data against the hash to be able to check the proof or something, but you're not actually exposing the data. And the thing that you're representing isn't the actual thing; it's the intellectual property around the thing. And it's really weird to describe this because it's like the most abstract, it's like the most meta abstract thing ever. Like imagine having an invention. Well, it's not about the invention, it's about the rights around the invention. And it's not even really about the rights around the invention either, because it's around how you're able to manage those rights, but also manage other people owning those rights. You see what I mean? It's so weird. And right now I don't.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say we don't have a mechanism to contextualize this with. Like this is more than just like a database, because like you can sort of think of it that way, but the real benefit is that you don't have to go to a third party to verify a particular piece of information. This is really good when it comes to payments, because obviously you can make a payment, you can have a level of trust behind there. But this is really good when it comes to like managing information too, because how many times do you have to deal with a third party to be able to prove that you are who you are, you have what you have, the information? It's so weird it's meta. It's not about the thing. It's about proving that the thing is the thing.
It's just proof. That's it. It's here.
Yeah, like the decentralized identity, where you own your own identity. You can show proof that you've already checked off the boxes that you're above 18 or 21 or whatever, without showing the guy or whoever at the door that your full driver's license and all of the personal your address, all these types of things. So imagine, all of the criminals that use that kind of information to maybe, everything from finding out a chick's address to go, do something to her, to robbing.
It could be the other way around.
Seizing the opportunity to check out a guy's address so we can go sit out at his house and watch him come and go. Back in the day, we wrote checks. We had to show our social security card, for crying out loud. All these types of things to verify that we are who we say we are. And this new technology, we're not going to have to do that anymore once this all catches on.
I think one thing to emphasize is. Oh, sorry, Simon. What were you saying?
No. Go ahead, bro. Go.
I was gonna say, I think one thing to emphasize is how hard it is to communicate. How it is that proof component. How hard is it to communicate sensitive information without, and it's not just with the information, but it's how do you communicate information without necessarily having to trust a third party. And it's not about, because people like to get so hung up on you don't trust a third party because you can't trust a third party. No, that's not the problem. There's like inefficiencies with that. So let's say I trust a third party, but you don't trust that third party. You trust your third party. Well, then now we have like all these third parties upon third parties upon third parties that we're all trying to trust now, just from an efficiency standpoint, let alone like who we do and don't trust. Let's say everybody in this example are all perfectly Sunday school kid, choir boy, perfect good actors, right? Well,
Yeah, okay.
even if everyone's not buddy buddy with each other, they're only going to go to who they trust, and that reliance on that third party just makes it so inefficient. And that's the big
Yeah,
thing that I think people miss is that like
yeah,
because you don't have to rely on because I don't have to rely on my third party. You don't have to rely on your third party. There's not a third party that's coming in between us two, those two, each other. Like all that is
yeah,
gone. We can almost do it's the whole notion of peer to peer now. All that is gone. You can essentially go directly to the source when it comes to people.
yeah.
Whether it's verifying information, whether it's being able to exchange in value, all these different things are like huge, but almost get overlooked.
You know, uh, because we don't really see it as such, where it would be a constant, I don't know, a constant, maybe I'm going to say annoyance. Okay. From the point of inefficiency. As you were explaining that, Quincy, in my mind, I'm like, okay, here it is. I'm a well-to-do business owner, let's just say. But I always go to my lawyer. Melissa, same, but she always goes to her lawyer or her team of lawyers. Well, her team of lawyers are the shot callers. Well, they go to their tier 2 lawyers to go do work. But the tier 2s go talk to all the assistants. And the assistants, the teams of assistants, are the ones that are actually going, check this, check this, check this, check this, check this. And then eventually, a month later, we're back at the table going, yes, we have a deal. Right?
Yep.
Or yes, we verified your information because we went third party.
Actually,
third party.
you brought up something kind of hilarious too.
I'm shocked.
Whoa.
Well, the thing that I think is like a really good point is how much when it comes to especially when it comes to the law, but when it comes to what's a good way to put this? When it comes to agreements that have I guess contingent variables.
Oh, like a memorandum of understanding.
What was that?
A memorandum of understanding, kind of like, hey, I'm going to write this on a piece of paper. I promise to do this, and you promise to do this, but we're not going to have a full-on contract just yet. We're going to it's kind of I understand you do this, and you understand I do this, and we're kind of
I was going to say, no, I was going to say, there's a component in which being able to automate like conditional releases or like conditional factors to agreements.
Okay, right.
I say that because imagine how many times lawyers have to sit around in a room getting together just to go, oh, that thing happened. Yep, that thing happened.
Check.
Like it's so dumb. Yeah, seriously. Like, and it's only because it's done by people. Check. So obviously, if something happens, someone needs to sit there and go, this happened. And I only say that because how much time is wasted just sitting around just confirming things. Because that's what that is. It's just confirming things versus having
Quincy law firms do real hard work. I mean, hours upon hours. They build millions of dollars of hours. It is not wasted time, sir.
Optimistic Prime says,
you're right, though.
Does Quincy think NFTs will never be able to have multiple custody?
This is like someone saying, does Quincy not think files will be able to like be multi-threaded? Probably, but like how you describe it is very limited because an NFT is a very generic thing. So it's like the file extensions. It's like So here's a perfect example, right? Tokenization is a really good example of an extension to put for an NFT. So everything that's tokenized will be an NFT, but everything that's in tokenization wouldn't be in the same class of NFT as other things. If I was going to tokenize a security or a stock, make it into an SPV or something, that level of NFT is not the same as like me making a sword in a video game. Regardless of what, like, it's just no, it's because one is focused around the tokenization of an asset and the regulation and rules and governing the rules of that asset, and the other is just recognizing a unit of account in a video game. They're both NFTs because an NFT is a type of thing, but like what is the thing like that's the thing that really gets me is that there isn't
Uh,
much vocabulary to describe further in because people just hear NFT and they think they're describing
no,
something. But that's like
I see. Yeah, I see the problem there, man. I mean, that's like, car versus helicopter. In some respects, it's like, no, dude,
or even
the
worse,
car cannot fly, and the helicopter cannot take a corner at 90. They cannot
no,
do this. They're on different platforms.
it's like having the word vehicle, but we're
Yeah,
describing a helicopter, a plane, a car, a golf cart, and an RC
boat.
car, and all you have is vehicle. And like I'm
Right.
like we can't describe. And like, Quincy, do you think they'll create vehicles that can go off road? It's like yes, but like it's an ATV or an all. Like there are ways to describe these things, but like if everyone in their mind has in their head a car, then when I'm describing like an excavator or something, they're gonna go, I can't imagine a vehicle being like that. And it's like,
Why would a car do that?
So are you saying Quincy that
makes
I mean are they creating this? I mean, this is clearly something that needs to be done with like, even though even though a vehicle, there's different classes of vehicles, right? So
this is what I think kind of happened, and I blame the asshole influencers. That's just what I'm gonna call them. The ones that are like, oh my god, guys,
The AIs? You're blaming AI right now?
Not even not. I said the asshole influencers.
Yeah, asshole influencer, bro.
Oh, that's funny. But
got him!
no, I say that.
Got him!
I say that because people emphasize NFT, but don't emphasize the thing behind it, and that's why people emphasize NFT so much. So imagine if I created like the cure to cancer, and instead of emphasizing like modern medicine, I just kept saying it's like magic, it's like magic, it's like magic. And then people say like, what is it? And they just go, it's like magic. And it's like you just don't have anything else to say other than it's like magic. You don't have this. People can't say it's like chemo. They can't say it's like antibiotic. They can't say it's like anything else because the only thing people said it was like it's like magic. But saying it's like magic doesn't describe it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that those of us that are in this space that are trying to help educate others, we need to focus a little bit more on the finer details of these things and what really is behind them for people to get a real understanding of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, like the example I like to give is every single time you say NFT and you think you're saying something, imagine if someone came up to you and said, "Oh God, this is like breaking my brain even trying to think of this." Oh gosh, like
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Give me a second. Give me a second to try to even say this.
And why Quincy gets some more bandwidth to come up with the thing he needs to say. A word from our sponsors. Oh, we have none. Go ahead, Quincy.
So imagine saying this. Oh, Quincy, you're a software developer. Can you create a game with a file with some files that shows videos and some other files that could like go on the internet and it's like in some capacity what you're saying is true. Yes, if I was creating a game, I would create a bunch of files that may have videos or did have, but it's like you're not describing anything at all. Like describe the game. Are you gonna make a game that does this? Are you gonna make a game that has that? Yes, in games, all in the game, there's gonna be files. Because that's how and it's so because a file is a type of thing. This type of thing, in this regard, is just a way to save data. A token is just a way to reference a write on a chain. That's all it is, or a unit of account on a chain. But
so the proper way to describe it then is what?
That's the thing. It's say the thing. So let's say if I was going to say file, I would say a game file. But even at that point, I wouldn't even say game file. I would just say game because you would automatically assume it's going to be a file. Hey, can you send me the game? Yeah, I'll send it to you. I don't have to preface it with saying it's a file because everything on your computer is a file. Like, so you see what I mean? Like, so just saying what the thing is. Like, when people talk about tokenized assets, I don't need to preface that with saying they're NFTs. They're NFTs. most things on chains are NFTs. Not most things,
Right.
but like in terms of all the category of things can be right now, you have currencies and everything else, can fall into an NFT. It's just a unit of account. It's just a random
Right.
unit of account for a random given thing on the blockchain. Like that's it. Like, but what is that thing, right? Is it a tokenized asset? Is it a unit of account in a video game? Is it a key that you use to? Is it a ticket? Just say
Yeah.
that. Just say
Right.
tokenize and then
So
say the thing, and that's
yeah.
all you got. Boom. You got
Yeah.
you've
You,
emphasized that it's on the blockchain. It uses the token. It's
you're
but I only say that because it, like I said, NFT is the type of thing. So it encompasses, and at a certain point, it encompasses everything, like almost like vehicle. Like that, if I wanted to describe multiple type of things, multiple types of cars, multiple types of boats, multiple types of planes, but the only word I used was vehicle, it gets so confusing. And if you
Yeah.
only ever saw a car and I said, hey, there's a vehicle that can float on the water, you would go, how the hell can a car float?
right.
But it's
Like
because you only associate vehicle with car and not and there's it's a very generic thing. It's a very generic
right.
term for a very generic set of things.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like I would associate it to this. A file, we all know what a file is. Files could be different types of things, but it's still a file. It's what we name it. It's in the name. We do that even nowadays. I name my file something on the computer. It might be formatted. Well, let's go the route for cars. Okay, vehicle subcategory, cars another subcategory. Manufacturer. Ford, Chevy, Volkswagen, Porsche, etc. Right? Then you have the model within that other subcategory. All those are still NFT, 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 NFT. Correct? Here you go. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like it's oh goodness, it's the biggest thing is this recognition of the right of different things. Um,
Right.
I say this
Right.
because like there just isn't like I don't think the public have ever been exposed to a technology that automatically has baked in it the assumption that people can cross cross accounting of different like I don't know how to describe it, a different like assets or different. It's like this cross accounting component.
Right.
I only say that because once you get past that, once you get past the, it's this neutral form of accounting or decentralized
Yeah.
accounting,
It's
and
triple ledger accounting. Yes.
Yeah.
there
I
you
mean,
go. Once
it's
you
triple ledger because everything is basically, if you think about inventory, right? Depending on
Right.
how many things that you're putting on, whatever the NFT is, whether it is rights to a song or Matt Riley says tokenized birth certificates into NFTs. uh whatever that may be, you're putting something on a ledger. And then when you sell it, it's going to move out of yours into someone else's, right?
The rights,
The
the
rights,
proof, the rights, the proof,
but and
right?
it will forever show that you had it on in your ledger, in your own ledger, but then now it's in this other person's
Even
ledger.
even on the rights though, right? Even on the rights topic, okay? I look at rights as I am the only one that gets to say yes, no, do this, do that with the thing
Yeah.
because I have proof of said rights. Rights are arguably infinite. When you come across back to the picture or back to the song, I am the only person that has proof, and with proof comes rights. So I get to say yes, you can, no, you can't. You can try use it like this. You can blah 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 blah. But I am the shot caller because I have token slash rights slash proof.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. I like your triple ledger.
yeah.
Too. Yeah, that's fire. That's exactly what I can see that too. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, things will happen automatically. So you'll need someone to reconcile at the end of the day, or someone to oversee the. If I'm in my mind, I think like inventory, like I say, inventory. Where is it? Where is it going? And everything is going to be recorded, and it is being recorded in real time. Whenever you transfer, or whether you create something into an existence.
When it updates, every time the blockchain, the ledger updates, anytime, every time transactions happen, that's new information that took place on chain, and everything gets validated or confirmed and revalidated again, like that.
Well, let's talk about the tokenization of real world assets, because that's something that you're really you have a lot of knowledge about that, Quincy.
Yes, actually, I was gonna say probably this would be a good way to get into it.
Yeah.
The first thing I have to address first, because this is what every wise ass is saying when it comes to tokenized assets or NFTs or whatever. Oh, what's it? What if two people tokenize the same thing? And I'm gonna tell you, there's a very magical word for that. I don't know if you guys ever heard it before. It's called fraud.
Oh!
No, I think it's because
nope. I'm gonna fact check you. Hold on a second. Magical word. Fraud.
I don't know if that's true. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to fact check that.
Go ahead, bro.
No, I say this because people will go, "Oh, I don't understand how somebody could just take this asset and tokenize it and then just sell it, and then somebody else take." And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, wise ass. How about this? Have you ever heard of the app called Robinhood? Yeah, they're an exchange, right? Real cool, real cool. Well, I'm a software developer. What if I built an app and I called it Robin Hoodie? And it was a exchange too, and you could buy and sell. Would you buy from that Robin Hoodie? You'd probably go, well, are you a broker? And I'd probably say, why does that matter? You just said 2 seconds ago, oh, couldn't somebody? So would you go on my janky, bootleg Robinhood app and buy my bootleg Robinhood stocks that clearly aren't real? You'd probably say no, and you may go, why? Or I may say why, but you may go, yeah, why?
What if it's cheaper? Huh? It's a discount.
The main gist is the recognition of the assets. The legal recognition of the assets is what makes it like real. And that's exactly what it comes to tokenization. That's exactly what the problem is with tokenization. So people go, oh, could I just tokenize this? You could, in theory, just tokenize any random thing. But you do leave yourself on the hook to where if it's tokenized multiple times, sold multiple times, you leave yourself on the hook for basically proving to the whole world and the whole blockchain you committed fraud, and it's there for good. And that's the thing. Like that's the problem. So not even that it's the problem. It's just that
it's a good thing.
You're gonna. Well, it's a good thing. It's just that how should I put it? The problem is that first recognition of the assets the hardest part, because of that. Oh, how do I know? How do I how could I just take any random information and tokenize it? Well, in theory, you could, but it's only as valuable as the recognition. Just like my bullshit Robinhood app, those stocks aren't worth anything because they aren't real stocks. They're not no one owns the rights to these companies, right? Because I made a random app. Well, it's the same thing here when it comes to making random tokens that don't actually correlate to anything, or making the token for a particular thing and then putting that token on multiple chains. That's just fraud. You just committed fraud. Like how's that any different than selling the same thing multiple times? Like if I sold you a car and then I sold, Simon, I sell you a car, and then Melissa, I go over here and I sell you, the what's it called? The title, and
right.
You has a real title, the other you has a paper. It's a fraud. Like I'm not clever. I'm not. Oh, look at this. You see here, I went to a photocopier and I copied it. So clearly,
yeah.
But wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say, Quincy, though, that so we have to go through the growing pains of this, and people are going to find out real quick, like the folks that used Bitcoin for nefarious purposes, thinking that they were anonymous on the blockchain, when in fact it's very traceable, trackable. You can find out what people are doing. And so what I'm thinking is people are going to try this crap. They already are trying this crap. They're going to be exposed. The more people that understand that this is the way things are, the less people are going to do it. So I would be certain that we will start hearing stories of this, which will then also scare people away from crypto, thinking it's a scam. You know, there's going to be a whole fresh new things as more people start to tokenize things. There'll probably be stories of people getting ripped off and, you know, whatever. But once they learn, just like you said, that, you know, it's very easy to verify that this was duplicated. You can see it, right? You can see that this person committed fraud, and they will be taken down fairly easily as long as you can find the person that committed the fraud.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, because you said earlier the blockchain's not anonymous. It could be, but you got to be on like a whole nother level type of time. Like, holy cow! Like,
yeah. Kristen says, this is what I say about real estate. A random project just can't put deeds on the blockchain. It's going to be the government who enforces the rights to real property and makes the law on how to convey that. Yeah, there has to be that, right? It can't just be willy-nilly, I wouldn't think.
well, it's like it's no different. So actually, look at it this way. This is so funny. Oh my god, this is so funny. Oh my god. It's all paper right now. It's all paper and people pushing paper and enforcing things. Nothing is special. There's no magic wizard. There's no magic curtain. It is just a bunch of paper and a bunch of people enforcing what is written on the paper. So, like, so the thing that makes it so funny is that people are like, "Oh my God, Quincy, could someone do this with the technology?" And you can technically do anything. The only thing that makes it real is that in, you know, our court of law, our justice system, whatever, they look at these pieces of paper, and they say, all right, based off of these rules and regulations, this piece of paper is the real one. This is like, that's it. That is like, people seem to think that, like, oh, if I use this token, or if I use this like this network, or I use this whatever, like, I thought Simon, you might have said this. You could write something on the back of a napkin. It can be legally enforceable depending on how people interpret the piece of paper. Like,
that's right. That's facts. But that's facts. Like that's a hey, we had an agreement right here. Here's the agreement signed according to the other piece of paper. Says this piece of paper, napkin, is enforceable. So chop.
Yeah.
yeah.
The only difference now is just putting it on chain, or at the very least, engaging in some sort of automation where you can like you have charges off these. Where like, right. I see this so much where it's like, oh my God, if it's a token or if it's a smart contract or whatever, couldn't somebody, and then people think they're so clever by saying, do all this. And I'm like, yeah, but like how is that any different than me like printing out somebody else's birth certificate and acting like it's mine? Like, you see what I mean? If anything, me printing out the birth certificates is more anonymous, because if you did it on the blockchain, well, now you just prove that you just committed fraud and it's there forever. Versus, you know, like, so it's just
somebody asked in the chat about tokenizing debt. What do you think about that?
That's easy.
Yeah. So one thing that people sort of like, I call it sort of like the what's a good way to put it? For every +1, there's a -2 or a -2. And people like to look at it as tokenizing assets. And there's like a finite amount of assets, but there's an infinite amount of debt, in a weird way to say that. Now, I say that because debt's a promise. So, like, as weird as it is to say, like, I could just make a promise with you right now saying, you owe me $1 million. And you can go, yep, well, that debt now exists. And I could sell that debt to somebody who may want that potential to collect on that. You see what I mean? So, and now I say that because in the eyes of tokenization, whether it's a tokenized asset or tokenized debt, the network doesn't see it any different. Like, it's still capital. Like, it sees it as no different. Because it's an asset that has to be exchanged. It has to have some amount of capital to be exchanged for it. So when I talk, like, so when people think about tokenizing, and I mean this in like a bunch of different ways too. And I don't mean it as in like people are just gonna make a bunch of bullshit debt contracts or whatever. But what I do mean is that for every asset, and there are different ways you can leverage debt. Like you can actually you can leverage capital in a zillion different ways to be able to create a bunch of debt. But what I'm trying to say is you can do that with debt. You can't do that with capital. Once you have X amount of capital tokenized, that X amount of capital can do X amount of things. And I say that with debt because when you get into collateralization and lending and stuff like that, what happens when someone takes some amount of capital, they collateralize it, get some other amount of capital as debt, but has a debt contract associated with that, but then also able to get liquidity out of that debt contract because they're able to fractionalize that. So then you essentially have the original contract in terms of the amount of value issued, the debt contract, which is actually worth something itself, and then the people that are getting liquidity out of the fractionalized debt contract. And in that situation, now, like let's say they were exchanging $100, there's $100 in capital that was moved, but then there's $100 in debt that's also on the network. You see what I mean?
Right.
And
right.
You needed $100 to get $100 of capital on there, but you only needed a promise to get $100 of debt on there. You see what I mean?
Yep. Very much so.
And that debt's worth something. So if I lent you $100 and that debt has a 2% interest rate, I can sell that to somebody for them to be able to collect that ability. And that's like if it's automated, that makes it even that much more enticing. So that's what I mean with by tokenizing the debt is that you can essentially have these automated debt contracts that could have like programmatic releases of the interest rate or whatever. But those contracts are tokenized, and those contracts themselves are worth something. But in a weird inverse way to how a traditional asset's worth something. Like actually think of it this way, right? Look at it this way. Let's say I had a car, right? You know, and let's say it was worth $1,000, and I was gonna like sell you the car or whatever, right?
Right.
Well, let's say I created a contract to sell you the car in 6 months for I don't know $1,000 or something, right?
Okay.
And let's say the second I did that contract with you, the price of used cars went up 20%. So, oh shoot, you know, in 6 months, this car is going to be worth 20% more than it already is. Well, there's two transactions going on. There's the one transaction of the official sale in 6 months, but then there's also the potential of you selling your right to that potential transaction. You see what I mean? But that's the tricky part. The tricky part is you haven't sold the car yet. So, I made a promise to you to sell the car, yet somehow I'm exchanging value for the promise of a car that wasn't even sold yet. Like,
right.
No. See what I mean?
I was literally gonna to ask you kind of about that, but your example is far better than the question that I was going to try to take us down on that rabbit hole that you just referenced there, the selling of the car, but yet you still have the car. But I get it in 6 months. We have a deal. Great, cool. Price of that car goes up but in between the 6 months, like an option. But I'm like, you know what? Screw that.
That's the scary part. Options themselves.
I'll tell you what. I'll sell you the option. Right now for $1,100. Right
now that
get the car.
We haven't even gotten into the crazy part yet. You just brought up. You just opened the door to the insanity.
Let's do it because that's where my example.
So now that first I had to acknowledge that the debt contract itself holds value, and that debt contract itself can be traded, but we haven't gotten into that debt contract being lent against. So let's say I knew, right? So let's say that car is worth $1,000, and I have a contract with you to sell you the car in 6 months for $1,000 or something. I see that the car went up in value for $200. Now I can make there's a few things that I could do. If presuming that people recognize the original contract, I can collateralize the original contract. That's worth, I guess $1,000, presuming it goes through, right. Potentially even $1,200, presuming you sell, like you see what I mean, presuming that you are able to capitalize even further. But so let's say, hold on, let me get my ducks in a row first. Let me see if I can write this out. So we have my car I'm about to sell, my janky old $1,000 car. I make a deal with you. Yeah, janky, right? The jankier the better. I make a deal with you to sell it. I sell it in 6 months for $1,000. The second I made that deal with you, it goes up 20%, so the car is worth $1,200, which means you're in the green, $200 right off the bat. Meaning, so there's two ways you can interpret this, right? You can interpret the original contract still being worth $1,000 because that's essentially what's gonna happen with the transaction. And if, presuming you want the car, that's essentially what's being liquidated. But you could also say, what if I took this debt contract and I put it into another smart contract to immediately sell the car as soon as I buy it from you. And so I'm taking the value or the anticipated value of the manifest contract, which is, I guess, technically $1,000, but you're anticipating it to be $1,200. Yeah. Now I'm saying this because we haven't sold the car yet. So we have a contract for the car about to go through. So whoever wants this car, that's all this contract is. So a lot of people think in finance, they're like, I don't understand how you're making. At the end of the day, someone's getting a car, right? So one person's getting a car on one end, the other person's trying to arbitrage and take advantage of the situation and extend their capital on the other end. Okay.
Exactly.
So, but I say that because before the car is even sold, if someone acknowledges that debt contract to be valuable, you can collateralize the contract in hopes that once the contract goes through, you can essentially have the car, which is collateral itself, but you can also sell the car, which also becomes the capital. But this isn't the case yet. So I hate to say this again. So we have the car, we have the contract to sell the car, we have the recognition that the contract is valuable, we have the car that's gone up 20% in value. And I only emphasize that because in this example, let's say the value went down. Well, then the case to collateralize it kind of starts imploding in that regard. But if the value went up, we're going to keep it really easy, really easy to think about. But you can essentially take contracts or take agreements. You can collateralize those agreements or you can lend against those agreements. And I think that's like the craziest thing about tokenization, because you can only do that so far with capital. I feel like I said, you can almost do that. In people almost try to do that. They'll go to a random sketchy exchange. They'll 100-to-1 leverage. They'll buy a bunch of assets. They'll go to another sketchy exchange, 100-to-1 leverage, get a bunch of assets. Now, don't get me wrong. There are dangers in crypto in doing that. But the thing is you can do that like up into infinity with anything because of how you're able to reference the value of something and reference the, I guess, liquidation of a particular thing, and then reference that thing as value for another particular agreement. Now, this is actually really weird. I don't know if crypto is gonna like survive this. This means that like the spikes, like the bull markets are like that much bigger, but like the crashes are that much crashier. So that means the liquidation event is like an instant liquidation across all the markets, across all these contracts, all at once. Like it's weird to like sort of like try to like imagine that.
No, that makes
actually
sense.
No. I think that happened to a Mirror protocol. Sorry, that happened to a few protocols where stuff like that happened.
Yes. Yeah, it's really.
So
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just saying.
I'm gonna take a sip of tea.
So Soko K's wants you to address the U.S. debt specifically for tokenization, and wanted to know, would the U.S. debt have to be on a central main DEX if we were to tokenize the U.S. debt?
So what you're talking about is just tokenized bonds. That's literally all you're talking about, is tokenized bonds. I only say that because in the capacity that people engage with U.S. debt, it's just a bond. But in terms of like tokenized bonds, you probably see a bunch of different like instruments come out. Right now, you actually see like stable coins as being one of the main instruments for bond. Now, I don't say that in terms of like the U.S. government tokenizing these instruments. It's usually like third party like finance like organizations tokenizing these instruments. But it's just tokenized bonds. Like that's it. It's just another means of being able to engage with U.S. debt. It's just a derivative of that bond on chain. Or it may be a derivative of a bond on chain as a stable coin for liquidity's sake.
Gotcha.
Right. You know, but that right there, what that does and this is kind of a component of tokenizing that I'm involved with at a certain level. What that does is it allows arguably global liquidity where before global liquidity was not available. What I mean by that is the everyday Joe Schmo, Mary and Joe Schmo can participate in doing that, in that buying that token, where they would have to go through a whole nother process to participate in buying a bond, where now they can say, oh, I have, 0.0000 of that bond.
Yeah.
So
I think it's even better too, because I think people can do more with these assets. Like I said, like even lend against. You can it'd be easier to lend against or like collateralizing these assets because of how easy it is to reference them in another application. So like you can buy like any asset, and that asset can go into any financial instrument and be used as a, like, you already see this now. People talk about like staking with like any asset. You'll see that with everything. You can lend any asset, you can collateralize any asset, you can stake any asset. It'll turn into that basically crypto, where you have this like hyper liquid atmosphere of being able to move a bunch of different instruments into a bunch of other different services that otherwise would need a handful of different brokers to even facilitate even a fraction of the services that are being given in DeFi.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, now we're really getting into the not mentioned DeFi space, but that's literally what DeFi is in a nutshell, is what you just said right there.
I got a not to change the subject, but Sean, the legend, texted me and said, please ask my question. And he's dying to know the answer. And he said he's going to see your ass in the pool in Las Vegas this year. But Sean, the legend, Baron of Beach Street, he wants to know, he says, Quincy was curious what, if any, thoughts you have on Zinfin's XDC plan compliance regarding American crypto, etc., or should we just plan on it being a big winner that's going to get hit with a big tax for being outside of the U.S. project, or is there a way for it to get around that? See you at the pool in Vegas.
I think you're going to see some real skeevy lawyers, and I don't mean like skeevy as in like horribly bad, because they'll be fighting on our side, that are going to make like a few decentralization arguments that are going to try to include themselves with crypto. This isn't necessarily like an XDC thing. This is like a all crypto thing. XDC, I know Zinfin's focusing on like bringing US offices, but here's the problem, right? So this is what I only say this because here's the problem. On one hand, these are decentralized networks. But on the other hand, there's like a notion of US. I don't know how to describe it. It sounds great from the US perspective. It sounds like shit from the rest of the world when you hear, wait, there's US crypto on decentralized networks. Like, it's weird, right? Not only say that because I think it's semantics. Like, I don't think there's really like obviously there are US companies that create different technologies, and clearly those technologies are decentralized. But I think you're gonna end up seeing more along the lines of like less of the crypto asset and more of what people are doing in crypto. I don't know how to describe it. It's less of like the token, and it's more of just like, I don't know, having crypto in your name.
As to
I say this is okay. Here's a perfect example. This happened with green energy and oh fuck, what's it called? It's green energy and carbon credits. There we go. Carbon credits. Yeah. So everyone thought, oh my God, like we're going to take this super seriously with like carbon credits or green or whatever, right? Green energy. And all it did was, instead of actually focusing on green energy, everyone just started putting green energy in their titles for everything.
Yeah. Cheating. Trying to trying to figure out how can they do a workaround to pretend like they're going to be efficient and green energy
Now,
and
I say this
collect as
because
many carbon credits as they possibly can to offset the crap that they really do.
if that too, because sometimes like they'll even just factor in just the credits or something, and not even like it's not even about like whatever type of offset you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It turns into like a political game more than it turns into whatever the actual initiative is. Now I say this because it's all about wording, and this is why I say skeevy lawyers. So there's two ways you could do this. You could say that these systems are operating autonomously, and then try to make this claim that like the US is just like, I guess, like the primary space for a lot of these places to try to like get themselves included. Or you're just going to start seeing a bunch of US derivatives of things that already exist, like wrapped XRP token or wrapped Ethereum token or whatever, wrapped whatever asset, but by an American company so they can claim the tax benefit. And I think that's going to be the big thing you see.
That makes sense. Guys,
Think about it. It's easy to do that. Wrap Bitcoin, American company, boom, you're able to get Bitcoin with US tax like benefits, boom, you're done. Like easy. Like
yeah, I see what you mean. I want to give a shout out to the 296 people that are watching the stream. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Rumble, or X, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It would really help us grow. We really appreciate everybody coming. We're almost at the 2 hour. We got about 20 more minutes. I never asked you how long you could stay, but I realized that we're coming up on the second hour, end of the second hour. So I wanted to let everybody know if you have any other questions and you posted one above that we didn't see or address, please post your question again because I'm lost in all of the chat is hopping. There's a lot of people here tonight and we thank you. Yeah. So sorry, Simon.
No, I have a question.
Ask your questions, man. I know.
Okay, all right. This goes back to XDC. Okay, tokenization, right? Okay, so for those that are finding themselves in a position to build, because that's what needs to be done. When you're giving reference to XDC Foundation helps architect and I don't want to say provides tools, but you guys help build tools. Can you elaborate on what you mean by tools? Maybe some basic, I guess, execution tools or things like that. Can you go down that rabbit hole a little bit?
This just comes down to a handful of things that we put out. This could be from the Explorer to SDK, software development kits. This could be building out different standards like the XIP standards. This could be, there's a few different projects coming out that I don't want to like.
Yeah,
you'll probably hear about in the next coming weeks, but there's stuff like that. How about this? We build. It's sort of weird. There are certain tools that people wouldn't build themselves, so we build them to make it easier. So most of these are just like software development kits, just things that make it easier to build on XDC or XDC native. So like, let's say you're building on Ethereum, right? Things like there aren't other Ethereum projects building tools to let you build on Ethereum. So you have the Ethereum Foundation just building random things just because no one would build them themselves. Or if they would, they'd put a tax on them to make it relatively difficult for people to use.
What happened?
Quincy, go back in the living room.
we lost his audio.
Quincy, go back in the living room, bro.
He was on a roll.
He was.
Yeah,
I asked that, right? Because, go ahead. Is he back? Did he say something? No?
Nope.
I asked that because, I mean, it's so hard. I literally want to share with the community, but I can't because of I just can't. But I'm in a position to where, okay, like Optimistic Prime. I know Optimistic Prime. She's got the butt out there, the butt token. You know, you got individuals like Patrick Riley and Mr. Greg Pruitt. You know, over there at Reaper and Arc and more. You know, and you know, they've built an amazing system over there as well. And so when I think about, you know, what this project is, what it's going to solve, what it's going to provide, it's like, okay, that part I can see the end result. And now it's like, okay, how do I get there? And so when I hear individual like Quincy talk about we build tools from the XDC within the XDC Foundation to help builders / clients on to build on XDC, right? And I really hope he comes back, because I know Quincy because I know that Quincy has mentioned this before on the Dip and Toe show, and I know he's talked about it on others, that there's a public network, but also on XDC you can have like a running in parallel, in tandem. I guess parallel would be more of an appropriate word. Private network that runs side by side, right? So for, you know, I'm like, oh, that works really well, because we're getting into the whole rights category, right? You know, so there's you know, sensitive material over here versus the proof, right? It's like, no, right there, see it, okay, you're good, bye. You know, it's a done deal. But where everything else really is, like Quincy was talking about, you don't have to have all the data within an actual contract, right? On the blockchain, you don't need the 350 pages.
Yeah, not for everybody to see it.
Right? Yeah, you don't need to have everybody to see it, but somewhere, you know, I would imagine, but it's just the rights. It's like, no, boom, we're the ones that have it. Boom, it's right there. You don't have to go through the normal rigmarole that we have today, the paper route / email, right? To figure all that out and validate that, yes, you do. Yep, that's good. Yep, that's good. Yep, that's good. But there's still that private network where all that data would probably be, or that decompartmentalized information would be. So you might have like 3-4 sub private networks based on, you know, rights access to said information, file, NFT, you know, whatever. So I was really gonna take him down a rabbit hole, and I was like, I need the answers though, dude. I got a whiteboard here, and it's full of puzzle holes. But what are the tools? You know, what are the tools? You know, and you know, like what, like I know there's other things. You and I both know there's other things going on in the background specific to XDC. Which, sorry, kiddos,
we can't tell.
Can't tell right now, but
I can't tell right now. But there's really exciting.
There's really exciting things. You know, where you're going to be able to participate like that. So I'm thinking now, okay, I know these things are in transit, being built. There's time there. Okay, so instead of maybe I don't initially go down this road, maybe I build for the future. But can I take said project and throw it on a different network, because I'd be a fool not to do that, you know? So hold that XDC. That's right, man. That's right.
Shout out to Marvin Davis.
Marvin Davis in the house.
And I want to say we also had Uncle Buster in the house.
The Buster Bus.
We had a lot of people come in. I did wanted to say that, and I keep forgetting to say it at the beginning of the show. Our show is not financial advice. You have to do your own research. You know, please take it seriously. Crypto is not for sissies. You have to do your own research. This show is for entertainment purposes and educational purposes only. We encourage everyone that stops by Dip a Toe to dive in, start researching this stuff and get a better understanding of it. But we do like to bring you the experts in the field, like Quincy Jones, who has a wealth of knowledge that's willing to share it with all of us.
You know what? I was just going to say
incredible.
that, willing to share. Like, thank you, Quincy. That's. I'm sorry, I cut you off, sister. I'm sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean,
thank you, Quincy, for being willing to come out and share this information. I see him all over the place. Thank you, Patrick Riley. Thank you, Artur, Dr. Artur. Thank you, Niall.
Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Rob Nichols. Stone.
Optimistic Prime. Lady K.
I wanted to name them all, but everybody else.
Marvin Davis, and as a matter of fact, next panel we have. I finally got. I got in touch with Marvin Davis, who he goes on Uncle Buster and Berserka's coffee time chat, and he's all about being a responsible voice in the room, because a lot of these chats, they do talk about things. This is for the Dipatoers. They do talk about some fancy stuff where you're swapping your coins and you're making money and you're doing all these types of things. But when you're entering into the crypto space, you really do need to be a little bit cautious here. And when I was listening to Marvin Davis one day, he just had some real solid advice and concern and wanted to, convey to be cautious. And I think that's a great voice to have on Dipato show. So next time we have a panel, hopefully we can get him on, and Uncle Buster, and some of these other folks that I see on a regular basis that are just shining. They're just bright shining lights. And I would love for us to share as many of those bright shining lights as we possibly can. Maybe we can get Matt Riley to come on sometime.
Oh, Matt Riley. He's in my sights. I see him around.
Super smart. Super smart.
I see Matt Riley around.
Yeah. So I'm just so. I get overwhelmed sometimes with the amount of knowledge that is being shared with me. And I have to laugh because, at the top of the show, when we were talking about people getting excited about certain things, I'm guilty of it. I'll admit, you start to learn about a particular topic and you want to share it because it's something new. And, one of the easiest way to learn is to teach, right? And to talk about it. But I do agree that there are some influencers out there that make that the center of their talking point. And for people that just tend to follow,
what's their talking point? What do you mean?
Whether it's ISO 2022 or the dates or price, or, this person has this price prediction and all that sort of thing. You can kind of get, like, when you first get into crypto, you do gravitate towards those kind of people, right? Because they're exciting, and you're like, oh, I found this new shiny toy that I want to play with and I want to learn about, and this person's really hyping me up. You're like Chip all hyped up on Mountain Dew, but the thing is,
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew
after a while. So like Optimistic says his phone clearly died. Maybe he's not in the waiting room.
Not in the waiting room.
Yeah.
So probably it did die. That's probably valid.
It might be dead. He might not be coming back. I hope he does, but I have a feeling that he's not. Sorry to disappoint, guys, but I haven't heard from him. He didn't message. So but maybe he messaged you. What? But what I was going to say is, like, when you first get into crypto, you do get excited and you get taken down a road because it's interesting and it's new and everything. And that is one reason why, I really encourage people to watch the Dipato show, because we do strive to kind of be down to earth, have a variety of folks on that are talking about things at a deeper level than just price. Not the Ricky Bobby reference. Oh yeah, Dot Biz. You know I went there, huh? You know I did. That's how Dim Toe Show rolls. But but you know, and so that's what I hope that we can provide. We do. You know, we're excited about this. This is an incredible opportunity, life-changing, but it's not something that you want to get in and just blindly follow influencers. You really have to do your homework. You have to follow your own gut. You have to get part of a network so that you can bounce stuff off of each other.
I'd like to touch on that part right there. That everything that you're listing out, Diptoters and anybody out there in the crypto space, or it really doesn't matter, any space. Because all, in my opinion, all things are tied together somewhere. There's a little string that attaches something else. You know, it can be overwhelming because you want to participate with everything. I mean, I don't know about you, Melissa, but I remember back in the day, go to the grocery store, Mom, can I have some candy? In my mind, I'm like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let's see what I can get. And then she responds, you can have one.
What?
Problem. Well, first it was, but she said yes.
Yeah.
So then you're like, sweet. Excitement, right? Same thing with crypto. Sweet. You run over to the candy selection. You see it all its glory. But then the voice of truth kicks in. You can only pick one. Crap.
Yeah,
what's it gonna be today? Do I go with the thing that I'm familiar with? But I do remember my buddy Bobby Boucher talking about high quality H2O and how good it is. Should I go with that? Right. So now there's the anxiety, the buildup. Okay. And I want people to recognize this. You're not missing the boat. You might feel like you are because we're inundated with information, you know, like that joke. You run through a forest, you run through a forest, you run through a forest. Oh, pow. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously.
You feel like you're running through a forest because this is a whole bunch of new information coming to you. Pick one or two or maybe even three. And what I mean by that is I did start with one, but I could see all these other ones. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to learn about this for a little while. And when I hit a wall, I'm jumping over here.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to see where this goes. And if I'm not feeling it, you know, then it's like, okay, why? The project or dude, is my bandwidth low?
Yeah.
And if my bandwidth is low, hey, it's time for me to go outside, pet the dog, hug a tree, go fishing, you know, go make a snowman. Ooh, can't wait. Snowing at my house. So get reconnected with reality, the old reality, not your new reality. But it is very exciting. Like I have something that I need to talk to Melissa about because I'm involved in a group. I get to be part of another alpha test. Like I just can't get enough of them. But I'm noticing a problem. It's like, holy crap. I literally have my toe in about 5-6 different projects at some level. Okay, Cap, we're done. Doesn't matter. We have to say no. We're back in maybe like 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, give me more.
Yeah.
But I'm coming from the perspective of I'm doing this because I recognize the seriousness of what I don't know. And it's not from a scared point of like, hey, this is going to be a part of my life at some level, somewhere down the road. It's coming. Let's go. I got to learn. And if you can take that perspective, it will actually help calm you down at least a little bit. And going, I learned about a wallet, not called a wallet, but we call it a wallet.
Yeah.
You know, I learned about that today. What does that mean? Go through with that. Has anybody out there and go explore? Has anybody ever really figured out what are the components of your debit card?
Right. Yeah, but I mean,
No,
this is
I
the cool thing about this space, and I agree with you, Simon. When you first get in it, like I came in on Bitcoin, I had my network of folks on Bitcoin. I learned as much as I could from the old school people and new people coming in and what they're doing and how they're trying to, work with the energy and use the stranded gas and all these things. Oh, geez.
Optimistic, you got it, girlfriend. Shoot, we should have had a side bet.
We love you, Quincy. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you so much.
I'll get at you another time.
But so what I did was, then I stumbled on and I used my gut and I stumbled onto XRP and Ripple and I started researching all of those types of projects. But then I also started looking at XDC, like we're talking about XDC and XLM and what are they trying to do? I was listening to a video this afternoon where there was the VP, I think, of Ripple. There was a gal there from Filecoin, which is another project that I found like a year, 2 years ago that I was very interested in. There was a person that, an accountant that was there. And anyway, they were talking about the real world issues that they were solving and what they're working on. And so when you get into this space, it's fun to have, like we have fun with the meme coins and things. And, there's different types of projects that are being built using the NFTs and, meme tokens and things like that. They're private people building things. They're trying to do it right. They're trying to build something on there.
Yes.
But I guess I always say, just don't put yourself in a box and give yourself some credit. Think about things realistically. Look at what they're trying to do, what they're trying to build, and then expand your thinking into what does this mean? What does this really mean? Like when we were talking about tokenizing assets and, people were asking the questions about tokenizing the debt and, all of these things are they're going to happen. They're in the works. And the sooner that folks start dipping their toe and looking into these things, the better, because the opportunities that are out there right now for you to follow these companies in these early stages, a year is going to turn into 2, going to turn into 5, going to turn into 10. And then 10 years from now, you're going to say, just like we all did when it was the .com and all of that, where it's like, hey, man, I wish I would have given this some attention. So there's enough of us out here that are trying to yell from the rooftops for people to start getting involved. And I really hope that you do. I hope that you do. Just start with 1 or 2 solid projects and get in and be part of a community. There's a bunch of great people. And we would love you to join the Dipito family. So
yeah, swing on. Well, I thank everybody that's here. All 329 of you. Thank you so very much. We have hit the Sparta level. By the way, that's 300. Everybody hits this wall. It's like not wall. I'm sorry. Phase in the process. Some of you might be familiar with the grieving process. Some of you are probably more familiar with the stages of birth, and then parenthood. Most of us are familiar with toddler, preschool, elementary. Aliens invaded the teenager body. They still took over. About 5 years after college, they finally left, and then that's semi-adulthood. My reason for bringing all this up is to highlight the talked about but probably not properly categorized at some level, as far as I know. And Dipitoers, if you know this out there, please share. and that is the stages in which somebody usually goes through, or what phase they're in this crypto journey, right? We all kind of get in for different reasons, but eventually we still get exposed to that other phase or area or whatever. It's almost like it literally is school in a different kind of way. Everybody has to do math. Then what type of math? Well, this math, it's a requirement. This is, and this is what I'm getting reference to, is there are requirements within this crypto space that you're literally going to go through. It's unavoidable. You're going to have it. We, if you're not messing up, you're not learning, right?
You're not learning.
Practice, right? If everybody buys the peak, so you know what, just get that out of the way.
It all happens.
Everybody does it at least once. Everybody.
We've all gotten suckered into buying the top
FOMO,
and then
FOMO,
getting trapped.
FOMO, Mr. FOMO, Mrs. FOMO, your choice of which FOMO you like. Boy, that thing comes in so many different ways, but we go through it. The fear of missing out, or I'm not gonna know enough. There's that thing that Melissa was saying, give yourself credit, which is, I'll touch on that in just a minute. There's the price thing, right? We get lost in fantasy land. I'm going to hold this forever. I'm going to be rich. And then, rich to me, that doesn't, I'm going to have more money than I've ever had. Okay. Problem. You now have to go through what am I going to do with my money? Most of us have never been there because we've had another check come to us, for a while, and we're only used to having X amount. This is something totally different.
You want to know what, Simon?
What
which we're still trying to figure out a time when we can get together and have them on. But who just had a wonderful video that I listened to is our friend Lewis Jackson. And what he was specifically talking about was, deciphering what being wealthy means to you. Because I know that there's a lot of people that might get a little bit rubbed the wrong way by his video, but it really resonated with me because I think a lot of us don't think about that part of it. And just how you said, we think we're going to hold on forever, right? But at some point, just even he even made reference, like, you watch things ride all the way up and then ride all the way down. And we are new. This is new, right? And so you really have to determine what is wealth to you. Because, if you're somebody who's making $30,000, $40,000 a year right now, and all of a sudden you have an extra, $300,000 staring at you in the face, right? What would that money do for you to change your life? And then, like you always talk about, putting your money to work for you. So there's so many opportunities out there, but unless you sit back and think about really what does it mean for you to be wealthy, because he's also made reference to even people that get a lot of money, a lot of times they realize that it didn't make their life better to have the money, the money, because it's never enough. Because now I made it to this goal, but I know I need more. I want more. And so they're just always striving. They're always reaching for that dangling carrot. But that's some point,
part of a problem.
Yes.
Part of a big problem.
And it's all of coming back to center and saying to yourself, asking yourself really hard questions. What do you want? What do you need? What is going to make you wealthy? Is it being able to have freedom to spend more time with your family and your friends? Is it being able to gift people money or buy them things that they need when you see folks that are in need? Are you trying to build a business and you just need enough capital to get you started? I mean, there's all kinds of questions that you need to ask yourself when you do start, looking into buying these assets, and you're looking at your wallet and you're looking at your window to the blockchain, looking through the window to your blockchain and saying, holy smokes, I've got this. Well, they're just numbers on a page or numbers on a screen. until you actually figure out what you're going to do with them and make the plan to make your life better. And that is a different answer for every single person watching this program right now.
And it's always evolving, and it's always evolving. And I know this from my own personal experience.
Yes.
I know this from my personal experience. Most of you talked about they're always wanting more. And it's like, yes, I can see that because they see how much they have achieved. And now they've created another habit, repetitious thing of, I want to achieve more, Exactly. So here's the question that I've kind of come across. I just haven't really agreed with it. I didn't know why I didn't agree with it, because it was just like like when somebody says something, you're kind of like, it didn't resonate with me. But I didn't know why, but it was just like, I don't know about that. Like I hear it, like I can see that happening, but I think there's more. And that word is retirement.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so I don't have to get up. Like retirement is like, well, what do you mean I don't do anything? It's like, well, you don't have to go to work. It's like, well, then what the hell do you do? And
you gotta do something.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Right. And really it means, hey, I don't have to do that normal thing I did. Well, retirement, in my opinion, for myself, means I don't do my normal 9-to-5 job. I don't have to go and do that. Too. Right. Okay. So that's my retirement. I don't do the 9-to-5. Now I do the 16-hour a day building my business grind. Now I'm in a whole new class, but it evolves from there. And bringing this back around to what is wealthy, I was trying to find it in the Infinite Banking Concept book, but there's a reference there to wealthy. And wealth is the measurement of how one can sustain life or lifestyle for X amount of years. Now, that resonated with me because that was a real general measurement, right? Where I can go, okay, I'm this old. I'm probably going to die in this range. Maybe not, but I'm just going to, here we go, give or take a year or two. So that means I'm going to live this many years. So how much does it cost me a year to retain what I currently have right now and not have to get up and go to the job? And retain means I have to account. You guys don't have to. Out for inflation, price increases, et cetera, right? So for me, that's wealthy, meaning wealth is me being able to reclaim or stop giving away my time to somebody or something else that only allows me to exist, survive, as opposed to thrive. So I'm turning towards the thrive, because what is a byproduct or a necessary thing to thrive? You have to survive. Yeah. It's baked in the cake. So if you go for the thrive, I'm going to survive. Why? Well, because I'm going for thriving. Yeah. But that changed my mindset to go for more. So even going back around to the one that says, I want more. Yeah. It's more of I need to keep pushing in my own way. And even if I don't get there, am I okay with it? Am I okay with it on the inside? But do the wealthy talk about that? Do the wealthy say, if I don't get there, I'm cool with it? No, they don't. But on the inside, I bet you they're saying it, because I know I would be. At some point, I'm going, you know what? I've done enough of this asset collection or collecting things. I have lots of streams. They're flowing to me. Now what am I going to do? Well, I might pivot. Right. I'm going to give back. How are you going to do that? I don't know yet, but I'm going to give things.
Says benevolence is my plan.
Yeah, exactly. And that's great. And see, so in order to do that, you have to, in my opinion, I would have to reach a certain top on the mountain before I'm able to do that in my way. That doesn't mean I couldn't do that today. Dude, I could totally go help someone with their groceries right now. Hold the door open, which I do. Not the groceries. I might get beat up for that. They think I'd be stealing them. Get out my groceries.
I mean,
you know,
like I said, some people are gonna watch this video, and I did post it in the chat. And I posted the name of his video. He's Lewis Jackson.
Lewis Jackson.
And in the
Lewis.
video's title, it's very short. Why you should give up the XRP daydream. All right, well, for XRP holders, that's going to rub you right. That's going to piss you right the hell off when you first read it. But when you listen to what he's saying, and he really does, it's really about, determining what is wealth to you. And, there are a lot of people that have watched this go up, and then they've watched it go right back down, and they never took the opportunity to change their life. And Alan talks about that too. And there's another thing too, where it's like, how much is enough, right? Some people, like I got little baby bags, right? And there's people that have big old bags. And if some of these assets go to what we think they're going to go to, some of these people are just going to be like gazillionaires, to a ridiculous point of the amount of money. And so, I think it's good for people to think about that and remind themselves that, life is for living. And so don't forget about that. Keep yourself grounded and, always strive to do more, but realize why you're striving. What are you striving for? Like you're saying, you have your goals. After I met my little baby goals that I had, then I set another goal for myself. And then once I reach this particular goal to where it's like, okay, now maybe I can take this 20% off the top, like everybody talks about doing, right? I've kind of stair-stepped my way up there. But at some point when I get to the amount that I think is going to be enough for me personally, then what do I do? Am I just doing it more for myself? Am I building bags for family members? Am I building it because I want to, build a business, which is really, I have a dream of owning or supporting elder care facilities for real life care for people that don't have money, so that the people that don't have money can be well taken care of, every single thing they need with qualified healthcare professionals, so that they can pass away in dignity and have everything up to their last breath. If I have money to do something like that, I would love to do it. Now, in the beginning, Ryan and I used to talk about it, and it was like Ryan and I used to talk about it, and he's like, "Are you talking about us personally running this facility? Because that sounds like a lot of work." And I said, "Oh man, originally I saw myself doing it, but then I'm like, you know what? I think it's the money, giving the money and hiring qualified people to do something like that." But what I find in this community is there's so many people like myself, like you, Simon, that do want to give back. And so we're, the transfer of wealth that's coming, there's a whole lot of people that want to do good in the world. And I'm not saying that there's not people that want to do good in the world now that have money, but there's surely a lot of people that have a lot of money that could have solved a lot of freaking problems, and they don't. But they parade themselves around as if they're doing something good so that they can get the acknowledgement from it. And it kind of pisses me off. So I'm super, super, super excited. And somebody said generations and donations to give back. Yeah, like the ARC with Gotta Be Greg Pruitt, his type of organization where you're donating, you're making money, and you can put it right back in. Your money is making money to give to charities that are doing something really good in the world. And I have so much hope that we're going to all be able to do that. Get a bus and get a bus. Wait, you get a bus and you get a bus, right? Optimistic says, yeah, exactly. What is optimistic says, if money's important, or is it what money can do that's important? Yeah. A lot of people say, you know, money is the root of all evil. Well, I mean, it can be, but money can also be an incredible tool to help humanity. I mean, we could do so much to help each other now. Even in our small little ways. You know, a couple days ago, there was a guy that ran out of gas. Right, they're at the gas station. They're sitting there. They're on their phone. They're trying to figure out. You know, you could tell they're doing something. And I walked past and I'm like, you know, is everything all right? And they're like, we ran out of gas and we were having a hard time getting a hold of somebody. And literally, I mean, I don't carry cash anymore. And we were getting ready to leave, but I gave him like $20 and say, like, here's $20 to put in your gas tank. Oh, give me your name. I'll send it back to you. I'm like, no, you just send it back to me. Like, it's fine. You know, you get where you need to go. And like these types of things that we can do for each other, it just makes life easier. You know, it's not, you don't need anything back from it. It's just, I don't know. I got on a roll because you were off. We still have 350 people living.
Well, you were going. It was just, I just had to take a quick call. Got a quick update, you know, on some things. So apologize to everybody, but I have a family issue going on in the background, as we all do from time to time. So sorry about that.
Somebody was asking, I don't know about, somebody said you should have Lewis on the show. Yeah, we have, we are trying to get Lewis on the show because of where he lives and where we live and everything. And he is trying to put a priority on his family, with not doing things at all hours of the night and on weekends. And so, it's literally going to be Melissa's taking the day off or going in late, to schedule, an interview, but we will get Lewis on. He's a great guy. He's a good guy. And, I would love to have him on the show. Thrive in 25. Yeah. Zips tips. Huh? Thrive in 25, baby. Let's hope
man.
so, right?
Yeah, great channel, by the way. Good stuff over there.
Yeah.
Mr. Zip Tips. Mm.
Well,
boy,
Simon,
you're up late. What you doing, man? You got stuff to do. I can't even say what you do. I do know what you do, but I can't say what you do. But bro, you got to get to bed.
it's been a hell of a show.
It has. I was going to say some final thoughts, actually.
Say some final thoughts.
It was along the lines of this. The reference of small bags, big bags.
Yeah.
Do your best to forget about that part. Okay. That only, in my opinion, is done me wrong. Yeah. It's done me wrong. Okay. There have been people that have big bags. They've done work to be able to have a big bag. Okay. Yeah. You had to do equally hard work just to have a little bag. It's not about the size. It's not about the size of the bag.
Love it, Shay.
It's about the motion in the crypto ocean. Okay. You know, it's just how you roll with it. You know, so, and what's great though is for those of us that might have a small bag, we gotta watch how the big bags do what they do. So be grateful you're not the first one out the door. Right. You know, you're definitely not back of the bus, right, so to speak. Right. And if you want to keep building that bag, find good ways to build that bag. You know, feel it, baby, feel it. Those little ones.
Well,
and hug your family. Hug your
family. The motion in the crypto ocean. Love that.
The motion in the crypto ocean.
Stop bills. Yeah, the whole damn bus. That's what I say.
Yeah, get another bus.
Huh?
Get 2 buses.
Well, we sure do love you guys. We appreciate you so much for coming to the Dip a Toe show. And just remember, folks, this show is going to be big. We're just little guys right now. We're the little tiny fish swimming in the ocean. But one day, mark my words, this show is going to be explode onto the scene. And we're going to have, I'm going to speak this into existence. We're going to have thousands and thousands of viewers. And you guys will be the old G's hanging with the Dip-a-Toers.
All of you will have a blue name with a wrench by it.
Exactly.
All 351 of you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that, you know, we're growing together. We're growing organically. And I love it. I love that you guys come back every week. You're my friends. You're my people. When someone asks me, Melissa, who are your people? You guys are my people. And I really, really appreciate it. And definitely want to have more. Yeah. About to be on TV in 21 countries around the world. Hello. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Like we're doing it. We're not having to shake hands and kiss babies either.
I don't mind shaking hands, kissing baby.
I don't even know where that came from. I tried to be funny. That was a miss. That was a complete fail, epic fail. But we are going to be in Vegas. So you guys, there's big things coming for that. We're going to be in Vegas, XRP Las Vegas at the end of May. We're going to have an awesome pre-party on Thursday night. And it's going to be fantastic. So there's more details on that to come as soon as I can button some things up. But yeah, we are thankful that you came. We look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same bat channel. Hit that like and subscribe on the way out, please, because that would be amazing. And we will see you next time on the Dip a Toe Show.
Take care,
Love
everybody.
You guys.
God
Have
bless.
a great rest of the night.